They called it Incident 17, though that name would only come much later, when reports were sanitized and filed and locked away behind 3 layers of Council encryption. At the time, it was just a scream, one thin, terrified sound cutting across the Copper District Marketplace on Concord Station. Sergeant Lyra Hesh didn't hear it as a scream. Her hearing frills caught the vibration, translated it through the ridged bones of her skull, and delivered instead a crackle of alarm, a threat signal, the kind that young of her species emitted when in danger. Only it wasn't one of her own kind crying. It was a human child. Lyra had been in a foul mood already, stalking the outer edge of the marketplace in her crisp Council enforcement uniform, mandibles set in annoyance, as she scanned for the thief she'd been sent to apprehend. The thief had been a Sulan, slippery and quick, and she had no patience left. The little human, barely knee-high to her, had darted around a stall
every day,
chasing after a floating sweet fruit his older sister must have bought for him. The fruit vendor complained that he'd bumped a crate. A few bottles had toppled. Some had broken. Lyra stepped forward without thinking, grabbed the boy by the upper arm, lifted him off the ground. Discipline, she snapped in accented gal standard. Control your offspring. She barked at the sister, who was hurrying over. The girl protested, fear bright in her eyes. Put him down. But Lyra was tired. She was frustrated every day, and she wanted the marketplace to stay orderly. She shook the boy once firm, meant to be corrective. Humans are softer than she realized. The child's cry split the air, the girl screamed. A dozen vendors turned sharply. Someone shouted, "You struck him." Another cried, "Get a medtech." Lyra froze, finally feeling the magnitude of what she'd done as the boy sagged in her grasp. Not unconscious, just terrified, an arm reddening where her grip had been too tight. She lowered him to his sister, but it was too late. Cameras hovered. Citizens recorded. Someone yelled, "Council brutality," and another cried, "You monsters always think you can do whatever you want." Lyra raised her hands. It was an error. No injury intended. The crowd didn't believe her. They never did. News spreads fast on a station, faster still when it involves humans. Deathworlders, the species everyone simultaneously admired and feared. By nightfall, the story had changed half a dozen times. In the most common version, Lyra had broken the child's arm. In another, she'd lifted him by the neck. In the most extreme, she'd nearly killed him. The child was fine after a brief medbay visit. A bruise, nothing more. But facts rarely quelled fury. And humans, especially the clans of the outer diaspora, were protective of their children beyond all reason. Humans were the only species that routinely fought to the death for their young. The only species that had repelled entire invasions because someone threatened a nursery. They were also the only species that, when sufficiently provoked, sent warnings, real warnings. A council memo was issued quietly to certain departments by morning. Expect human diplomatic protest. Prepare for demonstrations. Avoid escalation. Yet no one expected what actually arrived. Council Hall stood at the center of the station. A great dome of blue, white crystal, open to the public during daylight hours. That morning, ambassadors gathered in the atrium, the soft, spined Tranari, the winged Kelna, the static, shelled Boran. A few humans were present as well, wearing the black and red uniforms of their diaspora alliance. A tremor rolled through the floor.
Not heavy?
Not threatening. Just sure. A group of 13 humans entered. They were not diplomats. They walked with the slow, deliberate steps of people, carrying a weight they intended everyone to see. At their head was Commander Raleen Ward, shouldered and stone-faced, a veteran whose scars were famous even outside human space. The other species stepped back automatically. Something about humans in formation triggered old instincts. Commander Ward, the council speaker said nervously, "We were not expecting. We're not here for negotiations," Ward said. Her voice carried like a blade. Behind her, 2 humans lowered a sealed containment case onto the polished floor. It was heavy. Felt heavy, even from across the room. Several ambassadors recoiled. "Is that?" someone whispered. "A warning," Ward said. She keyed the case. It unfolded with hydraulic precision, revealing not gore, not blood, not anything the station's sensors would object to, but unmistakable nonetheless ahead. A replica. A perfectly crafted, lifelike model of Sergeant Lyra Hesh's head, made of composite tissue and synthebone. Sculpted with chilling accuracy, the mandibles, the frilled hearing ridges, the patterns on her brow plates, even the faint scar on her left jaw hinge. Every detail was exact. The shock wasn't in its realism. It was in the gesture. For humans in their long warrior history, there had once been a tradition. When diplomacy failed, a symbolic head was presented to warn of consequences yet withheld. It meant this is what could have happened. It meant, we stay our hand for now. Commander Ward spoke loudly, letting every translator in the room broadcast her words. Your officer struck a human child, she said. The child lives. Therefore, she motioned to the replica head, so does she. This is restraint. More restraint than many of our ancestors would have shown. Gasps rippled across the hall. We request. Ward continued. Formal apology, restitution for the family, and a reevaluation of council policing procedures involving human juveniles. The speaker swallowed. Commander, you must understand, your symbolism is unnerving. Good. Ward's eyes were flint. Then the message has landed. Lyra Hesh watched from a distant balcony. Her hands trembled. Her frills twitched painfully. Never in her life had she expected to see her own likeness decapitated and presented at the council's feet. Not even symbolically. And yet, humans hadn't killed her. Hadn't demanded her resignation. Hadn't even called for imprisonment. They'd chosen this, some ancient ritual of warning. She didn't know whether to be grateful or terrified. Captain Nallo, her superior officer, every day stood beside her, mandibles drawn tight. Do you understand now, Hesh? Why they assigned you to the market district for observation only? Why I warned you humans are not like us? I misjudged the child's fragility, she said hoarsely. You misjudged their parents' fury. Lyra looked down at the humans below. Their posture, their unity. They had the frightening calm. They weren't here for vengeance. They were here for accountability. Strangely, that made it worse. I didn't mean harm, she whispered. Intent doesn't erase impact. Nallo said, echoing an old council maxim, especially not with humans. The council chambers dissolved into debate. The Kelna ambassador clicked her wings uneasily. His display is barbaric. The human behind Ward, Lieutenant Mara Jin, leaned forward slightly. Barbaric would have been delivering the real head. Several ambassadors flinched. Ward didn't smile. Symbolic protest is legal under interspecies accords. Yes, rumbled the Boran representative, but threatening an officer. Symbolic. Ward repeated. And proportionate. Your officer harmed one of our young. We show you what true harm would have looked like if we had chosen retribution. But we did not. That is the point. The speaker rubbed his temples. Our investigation shows the strike was unintended, though excessive. The officer is under review. Ward nodded once. Good. Then we continue. Continue. What? The speaker asked warily. Building trust. Ward said, even if it's painful. Her tone softened by a fraction. And for the first time, the council noticed how many humans behind her wore expressions not of rage, but of fear. Fear for their children on a station that was not theirs. Fear that the council would protect its own before protecting the vulnerable. Ward lowered herself to one knee, an unmistakable gesture of diplomacy. We are not your enemies, she said. But you must learn us. You must understand how we protect our young, how seriously we take it, or incidents like this will happen again. Silence settled like frost. Every day, finally, the speaker exhaled. The council will consider your demands. Ward's voice cut the air. Not later. Now, in this room. Humans behind her stepped forward as one, boots thudding with controlled force. The council gave in. 2 hours later, Lyra was summoned. She entered the chambers with trembling limbs, head lowered. The replica head still sat in the containment case, its unblinking eyes seeming to track her. She swallowed hard. I accept punishment, she said. Commander Ward studied her, face unreadable. The room held its breath. What do you think punishment should be? Ward asked quietly. Lyra blinked. I do not know human law. Every day, Ward said. Then answer as yourself. Lyra's throat constricted. I struck a child. Even if unintentionally, that alone is dishonor. I should face demotion, reassignment, possibly dismissal. Ward nodded slowly. Some humans would demand worse. I know. Do you understand? Ward continued, stepping closer. Lyra hesitated. To intimidate? No, Ward said. To show you the line between what we could have done and what we chose not to. So you'd understand the seriousness without bloodshed. Lyra looked up sharply. You do not want me dead? Ward's expression softened, almost imperceptibly. If we wanted that, Sergeant, and Day, you wouldn't be standing here. The speaker intervened. The council has decided Sergeant Hesh will be suspended for 30 days, required to undergo remedial cross-cultural training, and must deliver a formal apology to the child's family. Lyra bowed deeply. I accept. Ward's voice rose. And in return, humans will issue no further retaliation. This matter will be considered closed. The council nodded eagerly, but Ward wasn't finished. She walked toward Lyra. Slowly, deliberately. The entire hall went silent. You didn't mean to hurt him, Ward said. I know that. Humans know that. But intent isn't enough. You carry a badge. Strength. Any that used carelessly can break what you don't intend to break. Lyra bowed her head. I failed. You made a mistake, Ward corrected. One we can all learn from. Even us. She extended a hand. A peace gesture. Every day Lyra hesitated only a moment before placing her clawed fingers in Ward's grasp. A ripple of startled murmurs spread across the room. A human and a Hessian officer. Two species once considered too different, too volatile. Shaking hands in front of the council. Ward spoke softly enough that only Lyra could hear. Take better care next time. I will, Lyra whispered. Ward released her hand, turning back to her delegation. Pack the replica, she ordered. Two humans closed the case with quiet efficiency and lifted it once more. You're taking it, the speaker asked. It's done its job. The humans left as they'd come. Unhurried, unified, terrifying in their calm. When the doors closed behind them, the council exhaled as one. Lyra stood alone in the center of the chamber, feeling the weight of the moment settle into her bones. And the fear was still there, but something else had taken root alongside it. Respect. And, unexpectedly, hope. That evening, the mother of the child asked to meet her privately. Lyra expected shouting blame. Pain she deserved. Instead, the mother listened, arms folded, expression taut but steady. You's all right, she said. You scared him. You scared his sister even more. But you didn't break him. Humans aren't as fragile as you think. Lyra bowed low. I am grateful. The mother's voice hardened. Not cruel, but resolute. Don't do it again. I won't die, the mother said. But belief isn't trust. Trust is built. Lyra nodded, mandibles clicking softly. Then I will build it. For a long moment, they simply regarded one another. Two mothers of different species, bound by a single moment of failure and the fragile bridge that could be built from it. You know, the mother added dryly, that head thing. Suspected not, Lyra said, a faint tremor of dry amusement in her frills. Humans overdo everything. The mother sighed. But we stick together. You hurt one, you deal with all. Lyra bowed again. I understand that now. The mother nodded, satisfied. Good. Then maybe you'll understand this too. She extended a small wrapped object, a sweet fruit. Give this to him, she said. Next time you see him, bridges start small. Lyra accepted the fruit with trembling hands. Thank you, she whispered. Don't thank me yet. Just do better. In the days that followed, the station's gossip feeds raged with debate. Some species found the human symbolic warning outrageous. Others found it justified. Some even admired it. But beneath all the noise, something quieter took root in the cracks of Concord Station's politics. Understanding. The council approved new cross-species training for all enforcement officers. Human parents received direct communication channels for concerns. And the marketplace saw a subtle shift, less fear, more awareness. And sometimes, in the Copper District, a Hessian officer and a small human child could be seen sharing a quiet moment over sweet fruit slices. No cameras. No dramatics. Every day, just two beings learning each other's boundaries. And maybe, just maybe, building a safer station between them.